together a new recipe for you today. It's a soup or a stew, depending on how you end up cooking yours. If you like it thicker, like a stew, then you'll use less liquid. It's a butternut squash and kale soup with lentils. I was going to use barley, but I compared the nutrient value between barley and lentils, and for the same amount of calories, 80, you get more lentils for one thing, twice the fiber and twice the protein than you do from barley. So barley's out. Gonna use lentils. I have rinsed the lentils already and picked through to see if there are any bad ones in there to get them out. And so I have a quarter cup dry cleaned lentils, uncooked. My kale was already cooked and frozen in my freezer, so I'm going to put it in at the end, but it's about a cup of kale that was cooked the way I've shown you on YouTube before. I have, I don't know, about a third of a cup of chopped red pepper, probably a quarter cup of chopped onion, 1 whole cup of, I'd say cubed butternut squash. This was the whole butternut squash. It was difficult to cut it in half, but I did, and I'll probably bake the rest of that. And then I peeled the skin off, this peeler, and then chopped as much as I wanted of the butternut squash. I should turn the stove on. I was going to use a bigger pan so that I could spread out my vegetables, but I'm not going to make that big of a pot, so I didn't. I'm going to simmer fry the pepper, onion, and butternut squash in a little bit of water, the way I simmer fry. Then I will add the broth. I have a can. I'm going to add the whole can of this vegetable broth. I hate to use the word all natural. I'm going to use the vegetable broth, and then I may add some water, depending, because the butternut squash is going to thicken it up. So after I saute the raw vegetables for a minute or two, I will add in the broth and maybe a little bit of water. I will add in the lentils. I will let it cook for about 30 minutes and then check to see if the squash is done, because it will take the longest to cook. If it is, meaning I can put a fork through it or it's starting to fall apart, then I will add the kale, cook it for another 5 minutes or so. And at the very end, I'm going to add a half a cup of this almond milk. Let me put it away for now. That's the unsweetened 30 calorie per cup almond milk. And the spices, that was the challenge. I did look online, not necessarily for the recipe to use, but what spices might go with it. And I decided on mostly garlic, a little bit of thyme, and a little bit more curry powder, and a dash of pepper. I'm sorry, I always just wing the spices, but I encourage you to do the same thing. Try it, see what happens. So if you remember the simmer fry thing, or if you have like an olive oil mister, you can use that. This is on medium high. Okay, onions. I don't cook in oil. I have olive oil. I don't cook in it because I feel like I know that it's a healthy oil, and the best way to get the antioxidant or health promoting properties out of it is to add it at the end of cooking. You know how Italians, you go to Italian restaurants, they dip the bread in the olive oil. It's not cooked. They just dip the bread in it. That's the healthier way to use olive oil. So you might add a teaspoon to your soup at the end if you like. Things can be healthy and still have a lot of calories. So you have to be mindful of that. So here's the simmer fry thing going on. It's very colorful, yay. Gonna add the garlic now. Pretty soon I'll be making videos in a new kitchen. So I'm going back to Florida very soon. I finished my program. I guess you can call me Dr. Dingman now. Not a medical doctor. Public health research. That's my thing. I think I'll bring the camera over and let you see how beautiful these vegetables look. It's simmering nicely in there. This is just with the spray. Now I will add a little bit of water. And I think just let this simmer for a minute, and then I'll add everything else. I don't think it will hurt. Let's see. A couple of shakes at a time. I think I'll add the pepper later. And I'm going to add the curry after I add the broth. I don't know why. Seems like a good idea. So this is going to be very nutritious and low calorie, which is a good thing. Okay, it's simmering good there. So, next thing to do is add the broth. I'm very tempted to put a bay leaf in there, but I'm not going to, not this time. And the lentils. Okay, so this is going to have to simmer for about 30 minutes, I think. We'll add the curry now. Oops. Bring it back to a boil and then simmer it. And I will start by simmering it covered. Can you see me shaking in some curry powder? And at the end, I'll add a couple shakes of pepper when I add the almond milk, I believe. And like I said, in 30 minutes, I'll check the tenderness and then add the kale if it's the right time. Okay, I cooked mine a little bit longer than 30 minutes because I wanted my butternut squash to, yeah, see, it made it, not only the squash, I think the lentil. So it's brown, more orange brownish now than it was after about 30 minutes. So I cooked it a little bit longer. Everything is nice and tender. You can actually smush the butternut in mine if you want. You can even puree this soup if you wanted to do that. I haven't added any water. I am going to add my kale now. Spread it apart. It was still frozen. This soup stew, another one of my soup stews, is loaded with vegetables and legumes that are really high in nutrients, and it's a lean protein source. So it looks wonderful. I need to cook it maybe 10 more minutes for the lentil, if even that long. To add my milk, which is going to add even more good stuff. Calcium, a little bit of protein. I think I said a half a cup, right? So I'll just do this. winging it. And 1, 2, a little bit of pepper. Oh, I didn't do the math yet. And this is going to serve as many, this will serve as many people as you would like it to. I anticipate 3 or 4 servings. Smells good. You can smell the curry. I don't know if I can quickly add it in my head to give you a rough idea. The most caloric item in the dish was the lentils. With a 1/4 cup dry, that was only 80 calories. 10, 170, 80, 90, 205, about 240 calories for the whole pot of soup. And very nutrient dense. That means for every calorie, there's a lot of nutrients there. Oh. And the rest of my butternut squash is in the oven baking. So I can have it for a good side dish.